The Fire Within details the last days of Alan, an alcoholic writer in rehabilitation, who starts to contemplate death after what he perceives to be life's many disappointments, and he ultimately decides that he will commit suicide in the days to come. The film displays many trademarks of the French New Wave, a surprising degree of self-consciousness, as noted in French Cinema, A Student's Guide, alongside references to literature, philosophical discussions, and shots of the busy and sprawling streets of Paris, both by day and night. Throughout the film, Alan visits old friends, and it's through this we can start to piece together small parts of his life, and what has made him so utterly despondent now. And whilst he does this, we can clearly see that he does have people that care for him, but that care does nothing to quell his existential doubts. It's this that makes The Fire Within an unapologetically sincere depiction of depression. The film shows his struggles in a realistic, poetic way, but it's not at all romanticised. The influence of The Fire Within can be seen in the 1974 French film, A Man Who Sleeps, which details a similarly existential story of depression, and in the films of Norwegian director Joachim Trier, most notably in his 2011 film, Oslo, August 31st, which shares a similar story and thematic style, both films having been inspired by the 1931 novel Willow the Wisp. The film also has echoes and likely draws inspiration from the writings of prominent French philosophers and authors of the time, including Albert Camus and Jean-Paul Sartre. Like most French New Wave films, The Fire Within prefers authentic, on-location shooting to studio sets. The use of location shooting emphasises the realism the film is portraying, and it enhances the feelings of loneliness and despair we feel through Alan, and it makes his suffering incredibly hard to watch because it feels so real. Furthermore, the film makes use of jump cuts, particularly in the party scene, and this is done creatively to demonstrate Alan's volatile and unsteady headspace. In this scene, he is ranting and lamenting about his suffering, and due to these jarring jump cuts, the audience feels as though their understanding of what he's saying is all over the place. And I feel as though this is an incredibly clever way of depicting the confusion and destructiveness that comes with depression. There's a scene in the third act of the film where Alan sits alone in a cafe after his friends have left. He watches as many people pass by. Life seems so busy, but he feels so utterly alone. Here he is desperately searching for anything, something to hold on to, but his depression has sunk so deep into his heart, into his bones, that each small speck of life he witnesses around him feels hollow and vain. I feel like this scene, alongside the ending phone call he has with Salone, encapsulates the nihilist philosophy the film employs. In this scene, any hope for Alan somehow finding a purpose shatters and burns. After not having a sip of alcohol in months, he caves and drinks once again. This one drink likely represents that any doubts Alan has about his decision to kill himself have disappeared, and from then on he is disturbingly dedicated to his own self-destruction. In contrast to the fast-paced editing and jittery cutting, the music in the scene is calm and mellow, providing an eerie sense of finality to Alan's decision, but it also provides the juxtaposition of emotions he's feeling, a sense of calm because he knows it's almost over, but also a sense of perpetual anxiety, as he describes to his doctor earlier in the film. The Fire Within is a somewhat forgotten French New Wave film, but I feel as though it's one of the most quietly beautiful. It's definitely a difficult watch, perhaps not something everyone can relate to, but the story feels so incredibly rich and believable that you're left feeling a little empty without anything to fill that void. Exactly what the film wants you to feel.